We've all been taught, whether subtly or directly, that to be pursued, we have to play hard to get. That if we show too much interest, we lose our value. That we have to be strategic and mysterious to keep someone's attention. But what if I told you that you don't have to play games to make someone chase you? You just have to be real, but with standards. Here's the truth. People are not drawn to what is fake. They're drawn to what is valuable. You don't have to pretend to be busy, disinterested, or aloof. You simply have to have a life so full, so passionate, so grounded, that anyone who comes near you can feel the gravity of your presence. And when they feel that you won't have to chase, you'll attract. You make someone chase you when they sense that your world is worth being a part of. Not because you've hidden your feelings or manipulated their attention, but because your energy says, I'm not waiting to be chosen, I've already chosen myself. The game people are really playing isn't about texting back late or being vague with your intentions. The real game is self-abandonment. It's pretending to be someone you're not, just to gain someone who probably doesn't even match your soul. And that's a game you never win. So what do you do instead? You focus on becoming magnetic, and that begins when you live with purpose. When you're emotionally honest, yet not emotionally dependent. When you express interest but don't hand over your identity. When you give without begging. When you care but keep your dignity. That's the paradox. When you stop performing for love and start showing up authentically with clear boundaries and strong self-respect, you create an energy that invites pursuit. You don't need to punish someone with silence to make them realize your worth. You just need to build a life where your time, energy, and presence are clearly sacred. The moment someone senses that you value yourself, they begin to value your time. The moment you stop trying to be impressive and start being intentional, they begin to lean in. People chase clarity. People chase consistency. People chase someone who knows what they want but doesn't make exceptions for someone who doesn't show up fully. So the next time you think about how to make them chase you, ask yourself, am I being the kind of person who would chase me? Am I lighting up my own world or waiting for someone to bring the spark? Stop playing games, start being magnetic, live with depth, speak with clarity, hold your standards, not like walls, but like a blueprint for the kind of love you want to receive. Because in the end, you don't need to chase someone who's right for you. You just need to show up as someone who knows they're worth being chosen without having to beg for it. You attract, you don't chase. Let's get something straight. Chasing people almost never leads to the outcome you want. In fact, the more you chase someone's attention, the more they subconsciously believe they're the prize and you're the one trying to prove your worth. But here's the truth. You are the prize, the one with something incredible to offer. And when you truly understand that, you stop running after people who don't recognize it. You see, attraction is a pull, not a push. It's created by energy, not effort. You don't make someone fall for you by trying harder. You make someone fall for you by living so boldly, so honestly, and with such certainty about who you are that your life becomes something they want to be part of. Think about this. Have you ever met someone who was completely lit up from the inside? They had purpose, passion, confidence. They weren't faking confidence or trying to impress. They were just being. And being around them felt magnetic. You didn't want to walk away. You wanted to know more. That's what attraction really looks like. So instead of asking, how do I make them like me? Ask, how do I light up my life? Because when you do that, people feel the shift. You're no longer coming from a place of neediness or lack. You're coming from abundance. And abundance is irresistibly attractive. Let's be honest. No one wants to be with someone who's constantly proving their worth. That kind of energy screams insecurity. But when you carry yourself like someone who knows they don't have to earn love because they already are love, that's when people chase you. Not because you're unavailable, but because your energy says, I don't need you, but I'd love to have you beside me if you show up right. There's no manipulation in this, no games, just alignment. And alignment creates chemistry. The most beautiful relationships don't begin with someone chasing another. They begin when two people recognize each other's value and choose to move closer. So stop chasing, start creating. Create a life that excites you, cultivate your passions, deepen your friendships, pursue your goals with intensity, and live like someone who believes they're already complete because you are. From that space, anyone who enters your life isn't filling a void. They're joining a journey. And when someone senses that your life is already in motion, filled with passion and intention, they don't want to miss out. That's how you make them chase. Not by being less available, but by being more you, fully, authentically, powerfully. And when you operate from that level, trust me, the right people won't just chase you, they'll fight to stay in your life. There's a lie a lot of people believe that to get someone to chase you, you have to be mysterious, elusive, play hard to get. But here's the truth, people don't chase mystery, they chase value. And value is not about being distant, it's about being distinct. When someone sees something rare, something that stands out from the crowd, they naturally lean in. We pursue what feels meaningful, what feels like it would enhance our life. And that's the key. If you want to be pursued, you have to live like someone who is worth pursuing. Not because you say it, but because you show it through how you carry yourself, what you invest your time in, how you treat yourself, and the standards you keep. Here's what most people get wrong. They try to be impressive instead of being impactful. They focus on trying to impress someone with accomplishment, status, or physical attraction. But those things wear off quickly if they're not backed by substance. The question isn't, do they find me attractive? It's, do they feel like their life would be better by having me in it? And that's the shift. When you're valuable, your presence adds peace, joy, clarity, strength. You become someone who elevates the room when you enter it. Not because you're trying, but because you've worked on yourself. That's the game changer. So ask yourself this, are you someone who listens deeply, who communicates with kindness and clarity? Do you have passions and goals that make your life interesting? Do you set boundaries without guilt? That's value. That's what makes someone lean in, not because you're unattainable, but because they sense something real. See, when someone feels like being with you brings more meaning, stability, and depth into their life, they don't pull away, they get curious, they start thinking, who is this person? What makes them different? And the moment you make someone feel something different from the rest of the world, they start to pursue. That's human nature. We want more of what makes us feel alive. And let's be clear, you don't have to be rich, famous, or flawless to be valuable. You just have to be real, consistent, aligned. You need to own your space, speak your truth, and know what you bring to the table. Because when you know it, others can feel it too. So instead of asking, how can I get them to chase me? Ask, how can I deepen my value today? Maybe it's working on your communication or learning to express your needs more clearly. Maybe it's investing time in your physical or mental well-being. Maybe it's just being present with people rather than performing for them. The moment you start showing up with that kind of quiet confidence, people will start to notice. And when someone really sees your value, they don't walk away, they move closer. They pursue not because you played a game, but because you were worth the effort. There's a moment in every relationship or in the pursuit of one where you feel like you're doing too much. You're initiating, reaching out, overthinking, waiting for a reply that takes too long. And deep down, you know it. Your energy is all over them, and theirs is barely on you. That's the moment you need to pull back. Not to punish, not to manipulate, but to protect your power. Your energy is your currency. Where you give it, how you spend it, and who receives it, it all matters. When you keep pouring your energy into someone who hasn't earned that space, you slowly start to lose something important. Your clarity, your dignity, your peace. Pulling back isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's you saying, I'm no longer willing to carry the weight of this connection alone. It's recognizing that your time, attention, and affection are not on clearance. They're not for sale to the lowest bidder. They're precious and they belong where they're valued. Now, let me be clear. Pulling back doesn't mean becoming cold, bitter, or emotionally unavailable. It means reclaiming the energy you've been outsourcing. It means filling your days with purpose, not preoccupation. It means turning the attention inward to your goals, your joy, your alignment. There's something magnetic about a person who knows when to pause, when to stop, overextending, when to say, I've shown up with intention, I've been real, and now it's their move. When you stop chasing, people feel the shift. And one of two things happens. Either they realize they have to rise to meet your standard, or they drift. And both outcomes are a win, because the ones who stay are the ones who show up, and that's who you want anyway. Let's talk about power for a second. Real power isn't about control. It's about clarity. It's knowing where you end and someone else begins. It's being willing to step back and say, if I have to force this, it's not love. If I have to beg, it's not mutual. If I have to convince, it's not aligned. When you live from that truth, you stop trying to chase a connection and you start choosing one. You no longer try to impress someone who isn't paying attention. Instead, you impress yourself by how you hold your ground. And trust me, people notice that. They notice when you stop waiting, when you stop texting first, when you stop asking how they feel about you and start asking how you feel about them. This isn't about ego. It's about emotional maturity. You're not here to be a background character in someone else's story. You're the author of your own. So pull back, not out of fear, but out of strength. Reclaim your energy, because when you protect your peace, you protect your power. And when you walk in that power, the right people don't just notice, they come closer. Not because you begged, but because you became someone worth choosing. We often get confidence confused with performance. We think confidence is about walking into a room and taking up space, about being noticed, about being the loudest, most charming, most unforgettable person in the room. But here's what real confidence looks like. It's stillness. It's grace. It's a person who doesn't need to prove they belong because they already know they do. Confidence is quiet, not because it lacks power, but because it doesn't need a megaphone to be felt. When you're truly confident, you're not trying to get attention. You're not asking for validation. You're not chasing after someone to notice your worth. You are your worth, and the people who are meant for you will sense it without you having to say a word. But insecurity, that's loud. It screams, "Notice me," through over-explaining, oversharing, overcompensating. It turns dates into auditions, conversations into confessions. It's constantly looking for reassurance because it hasn't yet found peace within. We've all been there. That moment where you send a second text because they didn't answer the first, where you try to act cooler, funnier, more interesting just to keep their attention. But every time you do that, you trade in a little bit of your dignity for the hope of connection, and it never feels good. The shift happens when you stop trying to perform confidence and start embodying it. Ask yourself, if you already believed you were enough without needing anyone to validate it, how would you act? What would you say less of? What would you stop doing? Who would you stop chasing? Confidence is in the pause. It's in the decision to take your time before replying. It's in the choice to wait and see how they show up instead of rushing to prove your worth. It's knowing that you don't have to shout to be heard. The right person will hear you in your silence. Here's the truth. People feel energy before they hear words. If your energy says, "I'm afraid to lose you," they feel it. If it says, "I know who I am with or without you," they feel that too. Confidence creates curiosity. It makes people want to know more, not because you're withholding, but because you're grounded. You're not easily shaken. You don't hand out access just because someone shows interest. You've learned that your time, your love, your heart, it's sacred, and not everyone gets to hold it. That's when the game changes. That's when you go from chasing love to attracting it, from needing attention to commanding respect, from feeling invisible to being undeniable. So if you want to be truly magnetic, don't raise your voice, raise your standard. Don't beg to be chosen. Become someone who chooses wisely. Show up in the room not to be seen, but because you have something real to bring to the table. That's the kind of confidence no one can ignore. Not because you were loud, but because you were real. There's a subtle but powerful shift that happens when you stop chasing and start becoming, when you stop trying to win people over and instead focus on becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to. That's when everything changes. That's when you move from being the pursuer to being the prize. See, most people spend their energy trying to be liked. They adjust, they shrink, they ask themselves, how can I impress them? How do I keep them interested? But the real question should be, do they even deserve access to me? That's the shift. That's when you take your power back. Being the prize doesn't mean acting entitled. It's not arrogance. It's not playing hard to get. It's knowing that you already have value and you don't need someone else to confirm it for you. You are not on sale. You are not a discount version of yourself just to be accepted. You are whole, as is. When you adopt this mindset, you stop auditioning. You stop working overtime just to be noticed. You stop rearranging your identity to fit someone else's expectations because you realize you are not here to chase love. You're here to choose it. Think about the most attractive people you've met. What made them magnetic? It wasn't just their looks. It was their presence, their self-respect, their ability to be completely at ease with who they are without needing constant reassurance. They weren't trying to be liked. They already liked themselves. That's the energy that makes people chase you, not because you're withholding, but because you're already full. When you're the prize, your energy says, I'm not desperate to be chosen. I'm evaluating whether you align with the life I'm building. Let me give you something practical. The next time you catch yourself overthinking, over-texting, or over-analyzing someone's behavior, pause and ask, if I fully believed I was the prize, how would I respond right now? That one question will redirect your energy every time. And here's the beautiful truth. When you stop chasing, you create space for someone to step up. If they don't, good. Now you have clarity. You don't want someone you have to drag into your life. You want someone who runs to meet you there. This mindset doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. It doesn't make you aloof, it makes you intentional. It says, I know what I bring to the table and I'm not afraid to eat alone until someone brings the same energy. So let others play games if that's what they choose. Let them chase validation if that's where they are in life. But you rise, you grow, you build, and you walk with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are already the prize. Because when you carry yourself like the prize, you stop waiting for someone to pick you. You start picking yourself. One of the most liberating things you'll ever learn in love and in life is how to detach from outcomes. Not because you don't care, but because you've finally realized you're no longer willing to give your peace away in exchange for someone else's approval. When you're overly attached to how something turns out, whether it's a relationship, a text reply, a date, or a job opportunity, you're handing over your emotional well-being to things outside your control. You're saying, if this works, I'm happy. If it doesn't, I'm broken. That's not love. That's emotional dependency. Detachment is not indifference. It's presence. It's power. It's the clarity to say, I can give this my all and still be okay if it doesn't go the way I hoped. Because here's what most people never tell you. Real strength comes from not needing something to happen in order to feel whole. It comes from knowing that no matter how it ends, you're still enough. You're still valuable. You're still worthy of love. When you're attached to the outcome, your behavior changes. You try too hard. You analyze every word. You move from authenticity to performance. But when you detach, you show up honestly. You say what you feel. You give what you want to give, and you do it without fear. That's when you're at your most attractive, when you're not trying to control, just connect. You can love someone deeply and still let go. You can want something sincerely and still be unattached. Why? Because your happiness isn't tethered to whether they choose you. Your peace doesn't depend on whether they stay. You've built something more solid, self-trust. And when you live from that place, everything changes. Conversations feel lighter. Dating feels less like pressure and more like exploration. You stop chasing and start observing. You stop proving and start being. People feel it when you detach, not because you're playing games, but because you're not playing yourself. You're not molding your truth to fit someone else's preferences. You're simply being who you are and letting things unfold as they will. That's what makes you magnetic. Not your effort, not your availability, but your freedom, your ability to say, if this is right, it will stay. If it's not, I won't force it. So here's the challenge. The next time you find yourself obsessing over how something will turn out, bring yourself back to now. Ask, am I being true to myself in this moment? Because the only thing you truly control is you, your words, your actions, your standards, and your boundaries. Detach from the result. Stay grounded in your truth and watch what happens. When you let go of control, you create space for real love to enter. Not love that needs to be chased or earned, but love that sees you, values you, and meets you right where you are. That's how you reclaim your power. And that's when you stop settling and start receiving.